that analysis has been done, but I don't think it's been extended to sand. We're just now, we've worked really hard in Wisconsin. What I didn't say is we provide over 2/3 of all of the sand used in fracking in North America, so from Wisconsin. Minnesota, their state government is doing studies and passing laws, and it's not happening. In fact, they say they don't want to be Wisconsin. But no, that's a really good point. A lot of the problems for people, like 800 trucks a day go by their house.
But it's BTUs in.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus BTUs in your gas tank.
Yeah.
It's all said and done.
Well, and they do these dryers. I mean, it's huge energy input. They're just huge factories where they dry these.
I can't see how it's not more than it's a net loss.
Yeah.
All the way around.
Yeah. Well. Yep. Yeah. That's a good question, and I will. I'll see if I can find an answer to that and let Chuck know.
Far back here. This gentleman had a great voice. He didn't really need to do it, but if you want to be heard, hold the mic up to your mouth. This gentleman. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yeah.
A question that hasn't been discussed yet, I think, is that don't we have a moral obligation to think about the coming generations, future generations, and it seems like we're just hell-bent on developing our resources, draining the aquifers, draining wetlands just as fast as we possibly can to make the maximum profit now.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
maybe we could reach more people if we said this is a moral responsibility. I don't see that.
I absolutely agree with you. At the Wisconsin Council of Churches is now part of the Interfaith Power and Light, a national group that they're taking on global warming and big environmental issues as moral issues. In Wisconsin, I've been working with the Interfaith Earth Network. They're mostly Milwaukee, and everything from just every religion you can think of. Very diverse group. But that's some of the most promising stuff I'm seeing is actually in communities of faith where they're doing just that. This is a moral issue. It's also what bugs me is it's not rational economics. I mean, it's short term. And I think if frack sand, if all this is really in our national interest, why are we letting these crazy guys just rip up the countryside? Wouldn't we be careful and pace ourselves on these sand deposits? It just doesn't make sense. It's quick, short-term gain, for a couple of people, and that's it. That's why it doesn't matter whether it's carbon neutral or not to them. Somebody's going to make a buck. But I absolutely, and I think we all have to remind ourselves of that, as all of us get a little bit farther away from living on the land and, still canning and, tobeing part of the cycle of nature. I think we have to keep remembering that environmental commons is, everybody who came before us took care of it for us, and it's still our job. I think that's a really, really good point.
Which one of these problems is affecting the bees? As a former beekeeper, I'm very concerned about the bees.
And I would assume that GMOs and pesticides, and all these like Roundup ready crops and the simplification of monocultures. I think. But is anybody else a bee expert?
Well, I don't know how many people are aware of the geoengineering chemtrails that are being sprayed in the sky. They are coming down and they are polluting our water, our air, our land. Our animals eat the grass or drink the water. We eat the animals, and we eat the foods that are produced. The chemtrail problem is really serious. In fact, they've been spraying chemicals over Janesville for 2 days now. And this goes on and off all the time. I'm hoping that everyone here will get on the internet and Google search chemtrails and geoengineering and look at the corporations and the government that is behind playing around with the weather and all the contaminants in those chemicals that they're spraying out there that are coming down on all of us.
Well, again, not rational economics. We need these pollinators. We'll crash even bad ag, you know, without pollinators. Yes.
Sorry, this woman had her hand up
Sorry.
a while ago. I'll get you next.
Glad you're doing it.
You said that you weren't even able to get to endocrine disruptors and pharmaceuticals because you're still dealing with other issues. But what about the fluoride issue? This is something that they're putting into the drinking water. Doesn't the Safe Drinking Act have anything to safeguard us against fluoride? Fluoride is in Beloit, where I live, they're putting hydrofluorosilicate acid into the water. They call it fluoride, but what it is the pollution from the fertilizer industries. They scrape it off the smokestacks. The wet scrubbers catch it, because what happens with the fluoride in the area was killing the cattle and the vegetation around the factories, so they had to capture it. Now they're putting it into our water, into our drinking water, and I know for a fact that and you can look at, I've got copies of this is the danger. It says do not take internally. This is what they're putting in our water. And they're saying it's helping our cavities, but it causes cancer, lowers our IQ. This is something that's got to be looked at. And even if you don't care that the solution to pollution is dilution, and they're diluting it in and running it through our bodies to dispose of it, because these fertilizer industries would have to pay big bucks to get rid of this. So they're using our bodies to get rid of it. And even if you don't care about that, 99% of fluoride added to the water goes down the drain and into our environment, where it affects all forms of life.
I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
There's another video.
I would say the EPA website is great
There's
as far as
another
looking.
fluoride gate.
Just look, if you, the EPA website's pretty easy to use, and they have really friendly, lots of information on different chemicals, and if you would just.
I have plenty of
Yeah, you
information
probably-
if
yeah.
anyone's concerned about fluoride.
Well, thank you very much.
I've got videos
I'll
and
look
they're
into that.
free
Thank
too.
you.
Gentleman in the back.
Well, I want to talk about chemtrails, but the lady up here talked about fluoride. Well, fluoride was used by Stalin and Hitler in their prison camps to mental down and slow people down and calm people down in the prison camps, so they wouldn't cause any trouble, and it worked really well for them. It's actually a neurotoxin is what fluoride is. And about the chemtrails, you'll see the lines in the sky and jets with great big long lines in them. If you really watch, you can see these lines turn into clouds that become like rope-like, and then they expand wider, and then they collect with other ones. They start crisscrossing, and it's actually not one big cloud. If you get underneath it, you can see it. It's a multitude of all of these lines expanded. It's called geoengineering, and this is what it's weather modification. You can actually watch them do it, and you can predict what kind of weather you're going to have the next day. And that's why we don't have any sunny days anymore. They're all white, cloudy, and you can even see them do it at night sometimes. And if the moon's on the back side, it will actually glow the lines from this. And before I leave, I have DVDs I can give anybody. You can take them home and then share them with other people. You can keep them, that you can have free.
Wow, I will definitely go online and look this up. I've never heard of that.
Look in the sky,
So,
you can see it every day.
thank you. Wow.
Quick question, 18 or
I thought I knew all the dark, dirty stuff, and now I'm going to be more scared.
question from the.
This might be changing the subject a little bit, but can you talk about the large corporations that are buying up public water systems? I mean, this is happening in various parts of the world. I think they tried to do it in Milwaukee, maybe.
Yeah, we worked with some citizens in Milwaukee. Yeah, it was all the big players that you see in all the documentaries. and in small communities all over Wisconsin, I mean, they're privatizing, I mean, I don't know, it's money making, you know, more profitable than oil in the future. Just the little bit I know is that usually the quality of water goes down and the price goes up, and then, you know, local control gone. And in Milwaukee, really, it was inner city people who led the charge on that fight, because they knew, you know, people of very limited incomes, that those costs were going to be passed on to them, and that they needed their water and saw it as a community asset that should not be sold. So that's I guess another little tidbit is I hear kind of the common knowledge is poor people or people of color don't care about the environment, or not that they don't care, but they're too busy surviving, so they don't. That is not my experience. We worked with a group of inner city organizations in Milwaukee they're transforming the Menominee Valley coal-fired utility to natural gas, and that's all local inner city people that did that work together, because their kids all have asthma. You know, it's the dirtiest plant in the state. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to proselytize on your point there, but yeah, I just think we have to, it's really important to just talk about these issues. I've learned 2 things tonight that I didn't know, and I'll go study up on these, you know, thank you. But, you know, just, that's powerful enough, just having these conversations so we know what to look out for. Did you have any other, anything else on that?
I think they did it in Shelley or somewhere, because it's worldwide.
Well, there was, which
they
country?
had to borrow money from the IMF or something. And
Yeah,
they were told by the IMF that you have to sell off your private utilities and stuff.
Yeah, and which countries? Anyone remember the country that fought back? I mean, and there was it Bolivia. Yeah, they fought back, and yeah, and it is life or death, our water.
Concerning the fluoride in water, I just purchased the Berkey water filter system, and one of the things it does is take out fluoride. But where are the chemtrails? Who is putting those up there? I mean, they don't just appear in the sky. Somebody has to be doing it.
This fellow in the back seems to know.
You said you had DVDs?
Yeah, well, I have DVDs that explain a lot of it, and nobody will actually owe up to doing it, but I've seen the jets personally myself on camera through telescopes and actually flying out of Rockford, Illinois, the airport down there, and Milwaukee, and technically it's the military doing it and also the EPA.
So is it research or intentional manipulation of the environment?
Well, because a lot of people say there's a lot of more insidious reasons that they're actually doing this. You can go to Rosalind Peterson, go on the internet, look up Rosalind Peterson. She'll explain an awful lot to you. Right?
Is it a natural process of jet flying? So
No.
every jet does it?
No.
No.
The natural process of a jet flying is called contrails. A contrail is put off by a jet through the moisture coming off the engine and the heat mixing with the temperature of the air at a certain temperature, and that's only at a certain elevation. It's in the 42,000 to 42,800, I believe. And I might be off, it's that short of a distance though. And it just collects, and it goes away after the jets as it's passing. But if you look behind it, it'll only be about maybe 10 lengths of the entire plane, and it'll dissipate. The chemtrails you'll see, well, sometimes I've actually seen them where they went from as far as I could see in Janesville. I mean, I got a terabyte of photos of them doing it just over my house, and all the way from as far as I could see, all the way in the other direction as far as I could see. And they were only doing this at an elevation of 5,000 to 6,000 feet is my estimate. 8,000 feet, 10,000 feet. And we have people that are actually tracking the flight patterns, and they actually have the jets from Madison that go down to O'Hare have to lower themselves down to a lower elevation when they're doing this, and then you can tell that they're gonna do it above them, because they can't fly in the same space, because these aren't normal routes that they fly. It's all haphazard. I've seen them, 4 of them come look like, just like a bombing run. I had a friend, we were going down the state line to go to fish dinner one night. And I explained to his wife, and his wife believed me and seen it a few times, and he thought I was full of crap. Okay?
Aluminum oxide.
Yeah, well, it's aluminum oxide, but it's like a whole bunch of other stuff too that's
Wow.
bad. And we were going down east and west on the street. Just 1 second, I'll be done.
We don't have
And,
much time here, I wanna make sure everyone has.
and they were coming like a bombing run right over us. He couldn't believe it. And then he finally was a believer after that.
I'll be looking this
I'm
up
doing the
tonight.
research, yeah, I'll make sure everyone has a chance to ask questions.
Yeah, the mainstream media printed some about the ethanol and growing corn, and I just wondered how, it's affecting Wisconsin. They digging up a lot of the conservation areas too. Iowa, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I heard just through the media, the Public Radio did a nice story of how many acres we've lost of CRP land and conservation land in Wisconsin. It was a lot. But the good thing is, strange bedfellows, the petroleum industry has really been behind this research and dissing ethanol. And that's great because it's dirty. We've sued 2 ethanol companies in Wisconsin for air and water pollution, just horrible pollution. It's a dirty industry. And talk about carbon, they use so much water. It is not a carbon winner at all as a fuel, and you get terrible gas mileage. But you get about 25% better mileage if you don't use ethanol. But yeah, I was really happy to see that come out, and it's something good the petroleum industry is doing is helping us be aware of ethanol, I guess. But it's really bad. We work in a collaboration with all of the 10 states along the main stem of the Mississippi. We have a common funder, and our goal is to reduce the dead zone in the Gulf and improve water quality. It's a national, one of the most important national problems for water is nutrient pollution. So all the row crops, without best management practices, filter strips, and things that we know how to do that nobody seems to want to do, it's horrible pollution. And then all the factory farms in Wisconsin, that runoff is awful. When they just spread it on the ground, and everybody overspreads because you get money, to spread it on your land or allow it to be spread on your land. Not very few controls or monitoring of nutrients, but yeah, row crops, they don't have to be. There's best management practices to do better by water, but they're all voluntary. No one has to. I'm gonna just. We don't send emails every single day. We probably err on the other side, but if you are interested in just, we try to send out information, but please go to our website. We've got 3 films. They're really short, 3 minutes each and 1 minute. And then those portraits I showed, citizen portraits, and the 3 films are about the Pinocchio Hills, and they're people speaking their own voices about their own experience. And I think they're educational, but if you wanna, we don't send an email a day at all, but we do try to give people information on what's going on.
What are our chances of stopping it?
I don't think it can ever be built at all. Legally, there are just many legal opportunities. The sad thing is the Bad River Nation is there's some of the poorest people in the state, and laws don't enforce themselves. So they're gonna have to fight. We do a lot of really wonky Clean Water Act work for them on the issue. And now that asbestos has been found, I've been talking to all these retired mining engineers. Without asbestos, it's not an economically viable project. There's a reason no one's ever done it.
It's been found in 5 places?
Yeah, it's huge. And part of that Tiffany bill to take local control away, Ashland County is working on an ordinance so that you can't explode asbestos.
Yes.
and it seems reasonable, and it would take away their ability to do that as well. Yeah, and that bill is rammed through now to close, it's all in MFL, it's about, managed forest law, the 4-mile stretch, and they're closing huge parts of it down, and I think it's already through both houses of the legislature, the compromise bill.
Does the closing down area close down the health, the harvest education learning project area?
No, because that's county land, so it won't close the harvest camp,
Okay.
but what the bill that's moving through now gives 600 feet around all the roads used by the mining company and anywhere where there's stationary equipment, but it gives DNR unfettered discretion to close the whole site. And DNR is run by the governor and industry, so staff won't have much say in it.
Well, they know that they're doing a lot of testing of the water, and they want to stop anybody from being able to go in there and test the water.
Yeah, and did you hear about Bad River hired one of the best wetland delineators in the state to go and just check some of the work? And she went to talk to GTAC, and they said, we will have you arrested for trespassing if you go and look at wetlands on this MFL land. So you know, there's all these unnamed, unmapped streams that for the last 2 seasons, there's just the best field biologists in the state up there combing the area and documenting these streams and working really hard to get the DNR to get them in the official record. But the good thing is this is where the feds will, they haven't quite triggered federal jurisdiction yet, but it's coming, and that's one reason they inch forward and then inch back, because they don't want to trigger and you can't really buy the feds as easily as you can buy the state people. Well, you just can't. So.
Okay, since these state people can be bought, this is all very discouraging to me. I think it sounds grim. What I have written to some of these, like Amy Loudon, and it did no good, and she studied it all, and she knows what she's doing. Well, all these people know what they're doing. What can we possibly do? How is this going to change? Do you see it change?
No, I think we all have to just keep working until they're gone. But I do think having in-district meetings, and even if you have someone who's not listening to you, blows you off, make them work for you. Keep writing, keep calling, get more people to write and call. What's really shocking to me is I've never seen politicians who don't care about their legacy, don't care about their honor. A lot of the people, Democrats and Republicans in the legislature, have never even been on a city council. They're not, we don't have that trainer system really anymore. So you got people who don't even understand governance and don't understand that governance is the balancing of everybody's interests and that it's deliberative. Like when almost every bill, and there's a couple a week, it's just exhausting. They announce a bill late on a Friday and have a public hearing on a Wednesday or a Thursday. In the past, for a little change in state law, we talk about it for 2 years with industry and citizens and hunters and everybody at the table, and they don't care. They just don't care. And it's scary. I mean, they're dangerous that way, but I just think we can't just make them work. I personally, not at work, as a person, I write to Ron Johnson all the time. I want him to have to work. And I get the same answer all the time, but he's got to listen to me.
Is somebody reading the letters for him?
Yeah, right, yeah.
He's got to learn how to read.
Yeah, I do it in picture book style.
Yeah. Bring out,
No, but I don't know that there's, I just have to say that I think this is one of those times where we can't give up and make them come to your district. I mean, sometimes I'm jealous of people who have bad legislators. I've got good ones. They do everything I want them to do. I can't fight with my state legislators. They're good. So, but make them work for you. We do that with our clients. Like up in Kewaunee County, Gary Buys and Frank Lassay, they're people who can't drink their water and they won't help them. And they signed on to that Tiffany bill to take local control away. Kewaunee County is looking into having a groundwater monitoring program to protect their own citizens. That bill would have disallowed them to even monitor their own water. So, so Frank Lassay and Gary Bies, there's Saturday I'm going up to a big health forum the citizens are putting on. It's really going to be amazing. National medical leaders studying factory farms and they did a great job. But they invite these guys and they put their names on chairs, and when they don't show up, they take the pictures of the chairs and that goes up on their website. So we just gotta keep at them. And they may not ever listen, but then that's where I think it's not a red and blue thing. Republicans especially, there are conservation history in Wisconsin. They don't have a voice, and these people in the legislature aren't speaking for Republican families in Wisconsin. They need modern. I have people all the time say, I didn't leave the party left me, Republicans. And I'm like, don't leave your damn party, get in there and fight. Without moderate voices, we're gonna have just gridlock, and there's room for everybody's viewpoint. But we need people's viewpoints in there, so don't give up.
I wanted to just mention something. I'm currently doing a study on how they successfully stopped privatization in Milwaukee in 2009, and it's a really kind of inspirational story about how they just really stopped it dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
People came out and really did it. I know there's been some concern. People have asked me about whether or not that's going to be kind of attempted in small towns across Wisconsin, whether there's any reason to worry about utilities getting privatized. Is that true?
Yeah, there have been small communities privatized, and they're really at risk because they have small budgets and ordinary people running the show that may get swayed by industry. Actually, it's a good. I don't know where you'd find the information, but it'd be good to know how many communities have been. But I know there have been water systems sold off. But in Milwaukee it was people. So we did a lot of behind-the-scenes legal work and some open records requests to show some of the stuff going on. But it was really citizens. 200 people showed up with puppets and signs and just showed up to the city council, and that's what stopped it. Were all the people showing up together. And that kind of stuff is really powerful. Showing up, being visible, having a sign that says what the Wisconsin Grassroots Network. They're doing a lot of workshops on Burma shave signs. They're doing this out in frac sand country. It's awesome. People have fun, and it's their voice, and it's out there, and it's visible.
I just wanted to say a couple of positive things too, because I teach environmental sociology and at UW-Whitewater, and I really do think young people are in a position where they don't want to see, this devastating world that we're leaving them, and so there seems to be a shift, and I know it's sometimes hard to find a sense of hope when you start to realize how devastating these problems are, but they seem to really want to, be aware and do things about it. They're still, in the educational mode right now versus activism. But there is also in Milwaukee an Institute for Water Business that we've just started. So there's Linda Reed and Linda. They're doing great things, connecting the university and Milwaukee as a sort of global water hub, and related to Great Lakes issues. And they're going to be a conference. Well, there's a sustainability summit in March. So anybody who wants to get active a little bit more, and that's in Milwaukee every March. And then in April we're having a conference on campus about peace issues, but resources for peace, sort of economic resources, political and environmental natural resources. So I think these things are coming together, and it's really hopeful to me, even though you have kind of bad days, and especially when you're looking too closely at what's going on with Walker. But maybe out of the crisis, like the asbestos, might lead to a solution to stop that mine. So
that mine will never be built. I mean, there's just too many legal hurdles, but you'd never know that from the media. But it's going to take a lot of time and money to fight it. But it can never be built as long as we can keep fighting.
People can't just sit back.
No, it's true. But I was going to say, I see some of the ugliest stuff going on. I'm probably the most hopeful person in Wisconsin because we work with groups of people all over the state that are real citizens. And they're citizens first, not party. They're standing up for the moral, the rights of future generations and sustainable communities, like sensible economics. So there's really good things going on, and we just all have to keep connecting and connecting and connecting and getting bigger and never giving up.
Thanks so much, our speaker. I thought that was a great presentation.
Yeah, thanks for educating me on these issues I had never heard of.
Great. Speaking of standing up, we have the option of showing We Are Wisconsin. Do people want to see that? I never saw it. The video we have. I mean, I'm not a big fan of having videos here because I really like the interaction much more. But we have that. So let me know if that's something you want to see as another option. But hopefully, We Are Wisconsin, it's the story of the uprising, the last time people really got up and did something. And it's a documentary about that. So we take up the whole session. But anyway, okay, folks, I hope we see you next month for Chris Taylor. And great Thanksgiving.
She's one of the good